Let's learn how to navigate Shotcut and use the program to display important technical information about our videos. To launch Shotcut, click the Start button at the bottom left of the Windows desktop. If Shotcut does not automatically appear in the Start menu, you can always bring it up by typing SHOTCUT, all one word. The item we want to click on is simply called Shotcut with the little blue box to the left. After the program opens, you may discover that your screen doesn't look exactly like mine. That's because Shotcut tries to reopen many of the windows that were used during previous sessions. In addition, this area at the bottom that contains the timeline and many of the playback buttons often takes up more space than it needs. In fact, it might even cover up critical portions of background windows. If you'd like to reduce the size of the timeline area at the bottom of the Shotcut window, click the button with the little X at the top right of the timeline. As you can see, the timeline was indeed covering up portions of this background window. To close any windows in the background and return Shotcut to a nearly blank slate condition, go to the menu bar at the top of the Shotcut window and click the View option. Then click on Restore Default Layout. If you'd like to adjust the playback volume of a video, go to the playback buttons near the bottom of the Shotcut window and click the one with the little loudspeaker. You can now click and drag the little volume slider to raise or lower the playback volume. We might as well maximize the Shotcut window to make it take up as much of the screen real estate as possible. To do that, click the button with the little square near the top right of the Shotcut window. To open a video file, click the Open File button on the left of the Shotcut button bar. Since the videos I'd like to open are on my desktop, I'll click the desktop link in the navigation pane on the left. Then, in the larger panel to the right, I'll scroll up and down through the contents of my desktop until I find the file of interest. Since I'd like to open the video named Mono Bud, that's the one I'll double-click on. Notice that the video automatically starts to play as soon as it opens in Shotcut. To pause playback, tap the spacebar. To resume playback, tap the spacebar again.
These are the top autumn butterfly plants.
Immediately below the playback window, you'll find the timeline. Somewhere along the timeline, there's a tiny vertical line segment called the playhead. As the video plays, the playhead moves from left to right across the timeline. It marks the exact point you're at in the video right now. Look at the bottom left corner of the Shotcut window. You'll see 4 pairs of digits, and then a slash, and 4 more pairs of digits. The 4 pairs of digits to the left of the slash indicate the exact point the playhead is at right now. In this example, the playhead is at 0 hours, 0 minutes, 14 seconds, and 20 frames into the video. The 4 pairs of digits to the right of the slash tell us the total playing time of the video. In this case, our video runs for 0 hours, 0 minutes, 29 seconds, and 2 frames. One very reliable way to rapidly move to any point in a video is to position your mouse precisely on top of the playback head, hold the left mouse button down, and while it's down, drag from left to right across the timeline. Of course, as you do this, the numbers in the counter change to mark the position of the playhead. Another slightly less reliable way to rapidly move through a video is to hold the Shift key down on your keyboard, and while it's down, drag the mouse from left to right across the playback window. If you use this technique, do not click any of the mouse buttons. If you'd like to move more precisely through a video, use the right and left arrow keys on your keyboard. Watch what happens to the frames counter each time I tap the right arrow key. I move forward in the video 1 frame at a time. To move a little faster, I can hold the right arrow key down. To move 1 frame at a time in the reverse direction, tap the left arrow key on your keyboard. When I do that, the frames counter goes down 1 frame at a time. To move a little more rapidly in the reverse direction, I can hold the left arrow key down. To move immediately to the very beginning of a video, where the counter will read all zeros, tap the home key on your keyboard. Usually the home key is located somewhere to the right of where you normally place your hands when you type. To move to the very end of a video, you can press the End key, which on my keyboard is located immediately below the home key. To display some important technical information about the video that is currently open in Shotcut, click the Properties button. It's the button with the small letter I about halfway across the Shotcut button bar. Once the Properties window opens, we see the file name near the top. Look for the 3 or 4 letters following the final period in the name. That tells us what type of video file we're dealing with. This video was saved in the .mp4 format. Fortunately, MP4 files are one of the types we're allowed to use for edTPA videos. If we look a little further down the Properties window, we see that the resolution of our clip is quite low. It's only 320 pixels wide by 240 pixels tall. If we were to divide those two numbers, 320 divided by 240, we'd get the aspect ratio. It's already been computed for us here. The aspect ratio is 4:3. That means this video is a little wider than it is tall. Another way of saying that is this video was shot in landscape rather than portrait mode. We also see that the frame rate of our video is 29.97, or about 30 frames per second. That's a very common frame rate for videos today. One of the easiest ways to find the size of a video file is to return to the Open File window. Let's click the Open File button on the left of the Shotcut button bar. Just as before, I'll scroll up and down through the contents of my desktop until I find the file of interest. But this time, I'll right-click on MonoBud. In the menu that appears, I'll click Properties at the bottom. Once the Properties window opens, I notice that the size of my clip is only 2.01 megabytes. When you consider the maximum allowable file size for edTPA videos is 300 megabytes, that size is almost inconsequential. The two reasons why this file is so small are number 1, the video only runs for about 30 seconds, and number 2, the resolution of the clip is extremely low. I'll click the OK button at the bottom of the Properties window to close it. Since we're already in the Open File window, let's look at the properties of one more clip. I'll double-click on the file named BTRUPP. Notice that the Properties window is still open. The file type for this video is .ogv. Unfortunately, OGV files are not among the acceptable types for edTPA. If for some reason I wanted to use this video for edTPA, I'd have to convert from the .ogv format to an edTPA compatible format. The resolution of this video is slightly larger than the previous one. It's 532 pixels wide by 300 pixels tall. There's a greater discrepancy between the width and the height of this video compared to the previous one. Therefore, the aspect ratio is larger. This video can be thought of more as a widescreen video, whereas the previous one is more of a full screen video. The frame rate for this video is a bit less than the previous one, but still within edTPA acceptable limits. It's 23.976 frames per second. We can usually round that off to 24 frames per second. Finally, let's take a look at the file size for this video. Once again, I'll click the Open File button. I'll right-click on BTRUPP, then select Properties. The file size for this video is just a bit larger than the previous one. It's 2.52 megabytes. When I'm done viewing the file size, I can click the OK button to close that Properties window. I can also click the X at the top right of the Open File window to close that. And when I'm done viewing my video, I can close out of Shotcut with the X at the top right.